What is up, everyone? Real quick, I just wanted to play this for you.
Hey guys, check this out. I am officially now sponsored by Dubby. Dubby is a clean energy drink made to give you focus with no crash. If you guys are like me, you're always needing a burst of energy, especially with one with no crash. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. It keeps me awake with no jitters, guys. Check it out. Merch link is in the bio. Dubby.
Oh, hey guys, I was just enjoying my Dubby. Welcome to the pre-party, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is J Cal, and every Tuesday, the hour before Power, too sweet to be sour, we are here to talk NWA wrestling with you, that hashtag NWA fam. And I see I've already got a bunch of pals in the chat. I see that Terry McDermott's here, Willie Bowen's in the house, James Bell's here, Media M5 is here, Wrestling with the MMA, the great Hisa, Pro Wrestling Zone is here. Everybody is here. Where are you, brother? I guess you're actually here. So I'm talking to people that aren't here. But as I would say, what is up, everyone? Thank you for checking out this podcast. Again, we do this each and every week, a live stream before Power to kind of talk about the NWA, what's going on, the happenings and the what's ups with the NWA. And it's been every week I say this, what an interesting week we have. Here we are, coming off of a show in New Orleans, right? There's a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor boy, and God, I know I'm one, because I was there to see Tyrus win the 10 pounds of gold, something I thought I'd personally never see, and we saw it, and everyone said that the NWA is done, and everyone said that the NWA was roasted, and it would be falling off the face of the earth, that the NWA was dead. DOA, dead on arrival. However, that just doesn't seem to be very true, does it? It doesn't seem to be very factual, does it? I mean, I'm hearing about pay-per-view tapings coming to February. I'm hearing about TV tapings in Nashville in December. I mean, if that's really happening, we haven't heard any information on it, but I've heard that people are talking about it. I hear about the NWA, that's falling off the face of the earth, but you've got the women's world champion heading to the UK to defend the Burke, right? I think the biggest, craziest news is what's going to happen in March of 2023. The tickets went on sale yesterday for the NWA versus AAA event as part of the World is a Vampire Festival in Mexico. What? The Smashing Pumpkins. Never count out Billy Corgan, guys. Never count out Billy Corgan. Because Billy Corgan has, Billy Corgan has done the unthinkable. He's got people talking about the NWA again. This time maybe for different reasons, but under the power of the Smashing Pumpkins, under the guise of a music festival, he plans to bring some 50,000 people to bring them to a venue, I believe in Mexico City, to listen to music, to listen to Smashing Pumpkins, and I think, what is it, Interpol? Interpol, and I don't know, Turnstile or Peter Hook and the Light or Death Heaven or The Warning or Ecstasy or Chelsea Wolf. I'm not familiar with Margaritas Porridas or In the Valley Below or Acid Waves or El Shirota, Un Choque nunca antes visto antes. That's probably not an actual band, but I am very familiar with AAA. And AAA Lucha Libre versus the NWA at the center of the attention of that the World is a Vampire tour happening in Foro Sol, Mexico on March 4th, 2023. Like I said, tickets are already on sale. And you know, just using a little bit of the Google's ability to translate currency, the 10,000 pesos for the VIP section basically equates to about $600 for a VIP. Gives you access to taking photos backstage, your own tour guide, and all kinds of fun stuff for the show. But tickets in general admission is about $60. It's very reasonable considering it's a music festival and a pro wrestling show. But as we all kind of ponder what kind of wrestling is going to happen there, I mean, are we going to see our world's heavyweight champion in Mexico? And I have to think of the parallels between a host, a roving reporter, a correspondent for a Fox News program wrestling in Mexico. That to me is an interesting dynamic. Will we see Camille return to Mexico? Hell, she was there not too long ago to challenge for the Reina de Reinas championship with Taya Valkyrie. Could she make a return to Mexico? Could she bring the Burke to Mexico? Can we get a rematch and maybe a final match with both championships on the line, the Burke and the Reina de Reyes championship? I don't know, man. People seem to keep counting the NWA out, and they keep doing things to just grab my attention. And I'll be honest, I'm an NWA diehard. I have been for several years. So even though that I'm not a huge Tyrus fan, I'm still very curious as to see what happens next for the NWA. And you got, like I said, you got to give it to Billy. He's got people talking about the NWA again. And I Dave Scooby says that the return of rock and wrestling. Okay. So James Bell is pointing out that the national tapings are closed. Okay. When you say they're closed, does that mean they're a closed studio taping, or it's not open to the public, or it's closed as it's not happening? Because even if it's, I mean, that's still pretty good idea for them to even do a closed taping. They need to get more content out. I'm not sure what's going on there. James, if you know anything, throw it up in the chat or DM me so I want to know what's going on. Medium 5 says, with Tyrus having the 10 pounds of gold, you can add another 20 pounds of weight to Tyrus. It's named 10 pounds of gold, but probably weighs 20 due to Tyrus' size. Well, if they did manufacture a new belt for Tyrus, at the very least, it's got to be like 12 or 13 pounds. Media M5 says, I don't feel they will want to see wrestling after that music event. I can see he wants to bring that aspect of rock and wrestling, but I can't see the crowds doing so if those bands aren't big. Well, I mean, let's face it. And this is something that maybe Billy probably should have leaned on a little bit earlier, is that connection to the Smashing Pumpkins. That is a huge fan base. And there are some of the fans that are at a lot of these NWA shows that started off as diehard Smashing Pumpkin fans. And I think that's an interesting way of doing things. Like, I'm a huge Pearl Jam fan. Yeah, I know Pearl Jam from the 90s, the grunge band. And if they kind of lent their name to like a different sports franchise, maybe like a basketball team or another pro sports team, I'd be inclined to check it out to see what it was all about. A few years ago, the Kiss Army, the band Kiss, used to have an arena football team, and it had a lot of attention on it because fans of Kiss wanted to check out that arena football team, that experience. So when you have Billy Corgan, who, let's face it, Smashing Pumpkins are one of the biggest bands that come out of the 90s, and they're still around. They're still touring. They're still making albums. They're still making music. I mean, Billy is, of course. Why not put your name attached to that to drag people to that show? Maybe you would drag more people to an NWA show if Billy Corgan performed at each one of them. Now, I know he wants the NWA to succeed on its own merit, but this is a great way to get people in through the turnstiles. No pun intended for the band. Now, Mr. Mr. Chris Drummond says, let's not kid ourselves. It's a AAA show in Mexico City where AAA is already popular. They could put any Fed versus AAA and it would still sell. Chris, this is where I'm going to disagree with you, buddy. This is a Smashing Pumpkins show. It's not a AAA show. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is more like a Crash Lucha Libre show. Like, it might be some AAA talents, but is it going to be the cream of the crop? It doesn't have to be. The people are going to be there, right? The people will be in attendance. So if you have a show that's Scion and Jordan Clearwater and Tyrus and, Camille, and the Fixers, like, these guys aren't necessarily known commodities in Mexico, but people will be in attendance to see this event regardless of who's on the card. And if they're smart, they'll stop the show before the Smashing Pumpkins go on and do the wrestling before the Pumpkins actually perform. That way you keep a captive audience. You keep them there for an hour or two before Smashing Pumpkins play. It's actually a very brilliant strategy, but I don't think this is a AAA show. I think this is a Smashing Pumpkins show. That's the draw, guys. It's the music, not the wrestling. Yeah, Terry, it's not exactly my cup of tea either, but it's going to work. We're all going to be. Whoa, I just stuttered. I haven't done that since I was a kid. I firmly believe that this is an excellent marketing strategy for Billy Corgan. They will sell tickets to the festival. He will include the wrestling. He will have great footage of a huge sellout in Mexico, probably an open arena for the pro wrestling where there'll be thousands of people there just watching because, well, what else are they going to do in between sets? And when you have a tag team like La Rebelión, who's very well known in Mexico and very over, that's going to help generate some interest for this event. But, like, I don't expect you to see the top tier talent from AAA on this pay-per-view or wrestling show. Media M5 says, can't blame Billy for wanting to try a rock and wrestling dynamic. Why? Yes, he should have done this sooner. Could you imagine what they could have done for the 73rd anniversary show if after immediately following the wrestling event, Smashing Pumpkins played the Chase? Or the Nashville Amphitheater? Not Nashville Amphitheater, the Nashville Fairgrounds? Like this, I feel like this is a move of desperation, but I think it's going to be successful. No doubt about it. James Bell says not open to the public. All right, see, that's very strategic and very smart. They don't need to have people there. They can shoot as much wrestling as they want in 2 or 3 days and have enough content to lead them up to the pay-per-view, the next pay-per-view, which I think is in February, and then have the live event in March. I don't know if that's going to be filmed for pay-per-view. That, in all honesty, if I'm Billy Corgan, that's where I'm filming my pilot to shoot for the TV studios. And yes, you'll have an inflated number there. You'll have a lot of people there wanting to be a part of this event, and you can have all these faces in the crowd. Doesn't matter that it's in Mexico. It doesn't matter. And when they shop power to some of the other networks, I guarantee you they'll be using footage from that show. Really? If Tyrus goes to Mexico, no burritos and tacos are safe. Dave Scooby says Tyrus versus the Minis. I mean, that'd be something, right? Wasn't it Big John Studd? No, it was King Kong Bundy who smashed Little T. Oh, my WrestleMania 2 memories. Terry McDermott says, I'm just an old hippie from the 70s. Sticks is more my thing in music. Hey, Terry, nothing wrong with the music from the 70s. I'm still listening to Leonard Skinner and Led Zeppelin and I guess, I don't know, does Queen count? I guess Queen is more 80s, isn't it? Yeah, nothing wrong with music. With Jimi Hendrix, whew, love Jimi Hendrix. Medium Vibe says, I'm not knocking the aspect. I'm mentioning the crowd there. Yeah, I think it's going to be – I think this is a brilliant strategy. I can't put it over enough. You've heard me say it several times already. NWA Gold says, hope your birthday was awesome, Jay. So this cool Marvel Comics t-shirt my kids got me. I'm very stoked. I had a great birthday. My eldest took me to see Wakanda Forever. We've been waiting to see that one, so I got to do that. Had a nice dinner at Lucille's Smokehouse. Had some ribs, right? Had some apple cobbler. Had some leftover tiramisu from Thanksgiving. Yeah, November 28th is my birthday. Share that day with Brent Albright. I share that day with Rob Conway, the con man, and SoCal wrestling extraordinaire Boom Boom Raymond Murillo. We used to call him Biggie Biggs, but there's another Biggie Biggs. Anyways, yeah, great birthday. I'm officially 44, 1 year older, 1 year wiser, and still having a good time. Willie is bringing up his taste. Journey, Jefferson Starship, Chicago, Toto, Steely Dan. All right. Medium 5 says, I listen to disco, opera, classical, and rap music with a few select rock bands. Okay. Wrestling with MMA says the only music I don't listen to is country and pop. Dave Scooby, I'm sure, would have a list that would blow you all away. I think Dave Scooby knows every single song ever made. Me personally, my music tastes matured in 1994 in the Seattle grunge scene. And that's pretty much exclusively what I would like to listen to. But I also listen to music from the 70s and 80s and 90s and 2000s, 2020s, and all that good stuff. I'm a big Rage Against the Machine fan. I love the band Tool. I've been on a very much a Jimi Hendrix kick lately. The Black Pumas is a band. If you like that funk sound, that they're a great band. If you do like Jimi Hendrix, you should check out. Oh crap! I forgot his name. Oh man, I forgot his name. Oh well, we'll move on. Terry McDermott says, love Marvel Comics. Wish a Captain America or a Thor would come to the NWA like Batman from the 60s. Yes. What's actually interesting about that, Terry, is oddly enough, I believe it's AAA is working with Disney Plus, and they're going to do some sort of superhero Marvel-inspired Lucha Libre wrestling show, and I'm very much looking forward to that. I know that they did a show a couple years back, and I think they did another one recently. It'll be interesting to see what that's all about. Medium 5 says Biggie Biggs, yeah, from the Northeast. LO, I haven't heard that name in a long time. I used to train with Nick. He used to be called before that Ranger Nick. Yeah, there's a Biggie Biggs on the West Coast who's basically Raymond Murillo. I think I'm saying his last name right. But then the first Biggie Biggs, the genuine artifact out on the East Coast, former Dog contemporary, I believe he held the World Wrestling Grand Prix Championship, title recognized by the international sanctioning body that also recognizes Dog Pro Wrestling. Let's see. Styx is the greatest band in the world, and the only got a bad rep because most critics are cynical assholes. Isn't that from Big Daddy? I think so. BDM5 is making fun of me for my band choice. Jeremy says huge Rage Against the Machine fan. Yeah, I didn't get to see them live ever. I was really disappointed. I didn't get to see Audio Slave either, but I did get to see Temple of the Dog. And that was pretty awesome. I've seen Pearl Jam a bunch of times. I've seen Tool a couple of times. The most recent concerts I've gone to have been country because my wife loves country music and I love my wife. So, hey. Willie Bowen says, I'm a 60s child and I love the music from that era, plus jazz, fusion, disco, and funk. Willie, my favorite funk song is Maggot Brain. And James Bellick, I called it, yes. Terry says he loves Cat Stevens. Oh, the camera's already dying on me? What's going on, fellas? All right, now back to the wrestling. Jeremy, you disappoint me, sir. All right, back to the wrestling. Chris Drummond says, J-Cal, I know one team the NWA don't have the heart to book for the NWA versus AAA, and that's Los Tramas, a.k.a. the NWA Mexico Tag Team Champions. Yeah, I mean, that is the whole NWA Mexico thing. I mean, I don't really know what to say about that because during the Robert Trowbridge era of the NWA, when he was executive director, he granted membership to Blue Demon to control Mexico. They had that big fiasco with CMLL to remove the NWA name from the titles that were existing. Voladar Jr.'s NWA Middleweight Championship or something like that became the historic NWA Middleweight Championship. Some meaningless some meaningless change in the name. It really didn't change anything. And it introduced Blue Demon's version of the NWA Mexico, which was, essentially just some of his friends working, like El Dandy, Solar. I can't think of a lot of the other names at the time, but they didn't really promote very often, and that it seemed like that promotion came to a close shortly after Blue Demon Jr. started working for the short-lived MTV produced what was that show called? Masked Warriors, Lucha Libre USA. If you guys remember that one, where that was a short-lived Lucha Libre product where they actually featured a lot of American wrestlers on it, mixed with some of the Lucha Libre stars from the time. That seemed to go absolutely nowhere. And then the NWA brand kind of just disappeared from in Mexico, at least as far as Blue Demon. Of course, when Billy Corgan purchased the NWA, all of a sudden Blue Demon started promoting events under NWA Mexico again. Ultimately, I don't think you're going to see any involvement of anything NWA Mexico. And you probably won't even see Blue Demon Jr. on the event, although I think it would be kind of cool if maybe we had like a Blue Demon Jr. versus Cyrus for the Cyrus versus Scion, the NWA national champion. I think that'd be kind of cool to pay homage to Blue Demon, who is a former world's heavyweight champion. He could also kind of work as an ambassador for the show too. And, it'd give a great test for, the masked wrestler versus masked wrestler for the national championship. I don't know. I think it would be an interesting dynamic. Let's see. Chris Flackett, my guy. He saw George Clinton and band play Maggot Brain live in Manchester 2012. Mind-blowing. I recently played Maggot Brain for my kids, and they're like, Dad, there's no words. And I'm like, yeah, isn't it great? It's just a guitar playing. It's awesome. I see the jam. Sorry, it's on the screen. Oh, there it is. Jam and Music Man. I love watching NWA Power. That's cool, man. What Jam and Music Man? What's your favorite part of Power? What are you most looking forward to tonight? We have some wrestling tonight. We'll get to that. This has been kind of a weird season of Power because it's been highlighted by basically just the premier live event. They're not even calling it Power Trip. They're just calling it Power, but it was the Wildcat meets NWA taping Revolution Rumble event. And, there's been a lot of crossbred matches where it featured both NWA talents and Wildcat talents. And it looks like we're going to see a little bit more. We're going to see a little bit more as it comes to fruition this week. We'll get to it in just a minute. I do see Hisa says in Mexico, NWA is still trademarked by Sofia Alonso, former CMLL president. I have no idea how others have been able to get away with using the name. Well, there you go. And I think at some point, if they don't discuss that, if they don't force litigation, I believe that the trademark, you know what? I'll stop there. No way should I be talking about trademark law because number one, I'm not an attorney. And number two, I'm uneducated when it comes to that. So I will just stop there. Let's see. Willie Bowen wants to see Fatboy Papo Esco versus Tyrus. You know who I would like to see? And I was shooting the proverbial shit with my pal Tim from NWA Gold the other day. And if Tyrus ends up taking the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship all around the world, which I don't know if that's the plan. I don't know what Tyrus's plan is as the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. We know that as champion, to be perfectly honest, Trevor Murdoch only defended that title once outside of the NWA, right? I mean, twice if you first run as champion. We look at Matt Cardona, who he really didn't defend the title, but maybe once or twice outside of the NWA as well. So I don't know if Tyrus plans to have any title defenses outside of the NWA. I mean, it's not like that guy's hurting for money. he's getting paid a lot to do his gig on Fox News, and I'm sure Billy is taking care of him pretty well, that he doesn't have to work indie dates. You don't really, if I pull up, if I go to Cage Match right now and I type in the name Tyrus, I suspect he hasn't wrestled any matches outside of the NWA in the last few years. And I'm going to pull it up right now. And the last time he wrestled a match outside of the NWA was the Duval Brawl back in 2020. Before that, it was House of Hardcore in 2018. And before that, it was Impact Wrestling. So, I mean, with that being said, I just don't expect to see him really wrestling outside of the confines of the National Wrestling Alliance. He's had 26 matches since being a part of the NWA. And like I said, every single one of them have been in an NWA ring. But if he does choose to take that title on the road, there is one guy I'd really like to see him wrestle. Hopefully, if he makes his way up to the north of the border, we keep talking about Mexico, but Canada is a wealth of wrestling talent. And there's a gentleman by the name of Drew Onyx. The Bahamian Bomber, right? He's a former NWA, and you'll see it right here next to me, British Commonwealth champion. And that's a guy who I would love to see get an opportunity to wrestle against Tyrus, because he's a guy that could match him for size. I mean, I don't think he's 450 pounds, but he's a big guy. Drew Onyx, and I think that would be a lot of fun. Let me get to more of your comments. But yeah, Papo Esco, I know he would love to. He was on this podcast. Not this one, but the Sessions with J Cal, and he talked about his desire to wrestle for the NWA. He wanted to bring the entirety of the whoa, geez, man, my brain is not working today. He wanted to bring Danny Limelight, Slice Boogie, who already wrestled for the NWA for a brief time. He wanted to bring all three of them in, and I think Papo Esco would have fit right in there with that big, heavier style wrestling, slow, methodical, but brutal. I saw Papo Esco wrestle JD Drake from the Handsome Gentleman Club, or whatever they're called, the Wingmen of AEW, the Working Horsemen, the Workhorsemen, excuse me, on the Indies, and they had a great match at Championship Wrestling. I think he would fit right in. I think he could have good matches with the Thrillbilly. I think he could have good matches with, of course, Trevor Murdoch. But there's a lot of hard-hitting guys in the NWA that I think Papa would perfectly match up with. Mike Knox would be a fun one too. So I don't know, but I'm not counting on any of that happening. Dave Scooby says, will El Rudo show up? And I don't know. That's the thing. He seems to be working with MLW right now, but he's also a AAA wrestler. And it's not like MLW talent hasn't crossed over. I mean, we recently have seen Taya Valkyrie work both NWA and MLW shows, as well as AAA. And also most recently, we've seen Davey Richards compete on both. So it wouldn't be shocking to see Sam Adonis show up. Willie Bowen says tires can only wrestle rotisserie chickens. Excuse me. Media says, good question about trademark. It could be due to only in the USA are trademarks enforceable. If it's Mexico, possibly their trade rights aren't enforceable outside of Mexico, but USA trademarks can be enforced if they are used in other countries but are created in the USA. I don't really know, right? I don't know, but and I don't want to comment on it because I hate to talk about something I'm not informed in. I just know that if you have a trademark here in the United States, it's protected. And internationally, Bob Trowbridge had sent cease and desist letters, but I don't think it did anything. It didn't change anything. So we'll see. Chris Drummond is rooting for a Tyrus versus Psycho Clown. That could be a good main event. I mean, it could be. I don't know that I want to see it, but it could be. NWA Gold says, the Montreal Mastodon, Drew Onyx. if you guys are ever watching this show, you're probably like, what is wrong with J Cal? But Tim knows what I'm talking about. Excuse me. Drew Onyx is a former NWA North American champion. He also held the British Commonwealth Championship, and he held that Commonwealth Championship at a time when the World's Heavyweight title was kind of secured with Impact. So that championship belt, it made its way out to Southern California. It was held by guys like Fergal Devitt. You guys might know as Finn Balor in the WWE. Carl the Machine Gun Anderson. Paul Tracy, although he hasn't made like the top of the charts in terms of pro wrestling. But it was a very popular title. It had defenses in Santa Monica, California. How that's considered part of the British Empire, I'm not really sure, but it did have its time there. Let me see. Let me get a drink. Terry McDermott brings up that Tyrus's net worth is $2 million. He doesn't need to do indies. He doesn't need to do indies, but that doesn't mean he doesn't do indies. Part of being the world champion is getting those opportunities. Now, I know he was invited to be a part of Starrcade. I happened to listen to his podcast, The Three Wise Men, and he basically chose to sit at home and be with his kids, and I can't blame him for that. He did Thanksgiving with his family instead of at the show in on the East Coast. I think it was in Charlotte, so I don't blame him. But yeah, let's see more. Jamming Music Man, I love watching all of it. The NWA has some great talent. I agree. There's a lot of great talent in the NWA right now. Even as we speak, I'm not a huge Tyrus fan, which I think is what your next point was, and I'll get to that in a minute. But when you look up and down this roster, there's a lot of young, hungry talent. I'm talking about Colby Carino, Kerry Morton, your junior heavyweight champion. You've got guys like Jordan Clearwater, who's now your television champion. Then there's some seasoned veterans on there who I think are really, really good. When you've got guys like one of my personal favorites is Jax Dane, the main event trademark. I also really very much enjoy Rodney Mack, who seems to have disappeared all of a sudden. I haven't seen Rodney Mack in a long time. You've got the Hawk, Ari, Luke, and PJ, who I think is a fantastic combination. PJ, I think, has a huge upside, and we're seeing him as a tag team wrestler. But I think as of right now, he could jump into that junior heavyweight division and make a huge impact. And who knows, as he gets older and he gets more mature and his body continues to grow, he could potentially be a future world's heavyweight champion. We'll have to just wait and see. I see that Terry McDermott brought up Mims, but then there's also, you look at the women's roster too. You've got Camille, you've got KiLynn King, you've got my brain is not working very well today. Right now, you have Chelsea Green. I don't know how much longer she'll be around. Of course, you got My Best Friends. Oh, I didn't even play that today. You got My Best Friends. I don't have it queued. You got My Best Friends, the women tag team champions, Kenzie Page and Ella Envy. Then, of course, Natalia Markova, Genocide. I mean, I can keep going on. There's tons of talent in the NWA. There's a lot of positive momentum going for the NWA. Despite what people are talking about with the World Heavyweight title, there's a lot of positivity going on. So what are your thoughts on the recent criticism of Tyrus winning the title? What do you think the future is for the NWA? Well, what I think of the title in Tyrus is this. This was an excellent move for Billy Corgan to put his final stamp on the NWA. When the NWA was purchased by Billy Corgan back in 2017, there was a lot of different pieces involved with the NWA at the time, right? You had Dave Marquez and David Lagana and Billy Corgan and Nick Aldis all kind of running different aspects of this promotion. Now, Dave Marquez was not really involved with the running of the NWA, but he helped with a lot of the creative. They did a lot of the early NWA work in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood because the NWA didn't have a home yet. Of course, he was responsible for getting Nick Aldis, the world's heavyweight champion in China, a feat that's never been happened before and may never happen again. You had a lot of the early confrontation between Tim Storm and Nick Aldis happened in rings that were involved with Dave Marquez, including at the time he was part owner of Combat Zone Wrestling, and they had that world title match there. Of course, Nick Aldis wasn't a very big fan of that market. Of course, Nick Aldis took that title all across the world, and he made it legitimate, instantly gained its credibility back. Tim Storm did an excellent job as world champion, and Jack Stane and Hiroshi Tenzin and Rob Conway and all those guys brought a lot of attention to the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. But of course, it was on its it had seen better days before Billy Corgan had purchased it. And as the NWA continued to grow, it needed these pieces. And of course, Dave Lagana was the guy that was producing all the footage, making all the documentaries for the 10 Pounds of Gold, as well as getting stuff ready for Power. And there was a lot of moving plates that Dave Lagana handled. Once Nick Aldis left, that was the last piece of the original 4-guy program. And now it's all Billy Corgan. Now, of course, he has people to produce content. He's paying people to manage the business, but he's still the guy that's behind the creative. So he finally got his guy, a guy that he wanted to see in the NWA. He got a guy that he wanted as world's heavyweight champion. And to be perfectly honest, it's a smart business decision when you think of the amount of eyeballs that watch Tyrus. Now, the real trick here is to see how many of those Fox News eyeballs are going to come and watch Power. How many of them are going to buy tickets to the events? And that's going to be the telling tale if Billy Corgan is on top of his game, if he knows what he's doing, or if he's just shooting fish in a barrel. He's just trying the things out and see what sticks to the wall. But I do like the move because it is a well-known name. You know, I don't know the numbers because I don't really follow ratings and stuff, but I heard one person, I think it was, I want to say Eric Bischoff said it, that the Gutfeld on Fox News does better numbers than Jimmy Kimmel on ABC. That surprises me. And when you're thinking that many eyeballs are seeing the 10 Pounds of Gold and they're seeing Tyrus, that's a pretty shrewd move. Now, is he the greatest wrestler in the ring? Absolutely not. The guy is hardly mobile at this point. He is just a little bit more athletic than Andre the Giant in his last few matches. And I'm not trying to say that to be glib. It's just the truth. Now, he does look a hell of a lot better now than he did a year ago, but I still wouldn't think of him as a prime example of what I'd want for a pro wrestler. But because he has value in his name, I think they're trying to take the maximum opportunity with that. I can't blame him for trying it. I just don't think he's the right guy. We'll see how it all plans out. The future of the NWA, I think, is very hopeful. Nick Aldis was great, but he was not the only piece of the NWA. And they've got guys like Tom Latimer. You've got EC3. You have Chris Adonis, formerly Chris Masters. And these are like higher profile names. And you got Jack Stane, a former champion. You got Trevor Murdoch. You've got Matt Cardona. I mean, these are big names in the industry. And then there's a lot of up and comers like the Jordan Clearwaters, the Mims. You got the Pope. He's not an up and comer, but the Pope is a name who's got huge upside. JTG. I mean, there's so many guys on this roster who are so good. They just need that opportunity, and we'll see how things go afterwards. I just don't. I think there's still a lot of potential for the NWA. I think a lot of people who are saying the negative things are people who don't like Tyrus, who don't like Fox News, and aren't watching this show anyways. So we'll see. Chris Flackett says Black Taurus versus Tyrus might work for the Mexico show, a beef slapper. Taurus is a beast for sure. I've seen him wrestle guys like Willie Mack. A lot of fun. He'll be dwarfed by Tyrus, but I still think it'd be a fun match. John Farmer says December, which I think he's talking about the next set of tapings. I know Camille will be in the UK in December. I know she's going to be defending the Burke, and I think that's pretty cool. I'm excited for her for that. Let's see. We're getting close to showtime. Excuse me. Pro Wrestling Zone says, do you think that audience will cross over to the NWA? And I think you're talking about the Fox News audience. And personally, no, I don't. I don't think it's going to cross over. However, I think having somebody with the name recognition that Tyrus now has and the visibility that he has helps them down the road if they're looking to get on television. And I think they did the same thing in Ring of Honor by putting the title on Chris Jericho. I think the name has so much more value than the actual wrestler at this point that advertisers can see that name and be like, I know that name, I could do something with that. The TV programmer's the same thing. I think it could inspire them to find maybe some time for a wrestling program. I'm not saying it's 100%, but I don't feel like the gut field audience is the power audience. I don't think that crossover is there. But I think everything a little bit helps. Jamming in music, man. Here's a question: why hasn't the NWA released any recent shows on DVD? That's a good question, man. I don't really know. I don't have an answer for you on that one. I imagine if they were making money doing it, they'd continue to do it. Maybe it's just not an audience for it. Although I know when I was at the New Orleans show, the Hard Times 3, they were selling some of the pay-per-views, the past pay-per-views on DVD. So maybe it's just a live event thing. But I'll be honest, I didn't really look into it. Paladin says, why is Camille dodging Jade Cargill? It's silly at this point. I don't think she's dodging Jade Cargill. I don't think she has an opportunity to work with Jade. AEW is a contracted based place. I mean, they will hire guys to come in and do the job, but Camille's not a job person at this point anymore. She's not Joe Alonzo. She's not going in to do the job for anybody. If she wrestled Jade Cargill, it'd be a great match because you had two women who are damn near super women. I mean, she dressed up like Jade Cargill dressed up like Chitara from, or was it Chitara? No. I forgot the cheetah. She's dressed up as the cheetah for Thundercats, for crying out loud. She looks great. Obviously, she puts a lot of work on her physique and her abilities in the ring. I've heard she's trained with Bryan Danielson. Jade Cargill is going to be an amazing wrestler if she keeps doing what she's doing. But you can't say that Camille's dodging her. If Camille had a pipeline to AEW, I'm sure that they would love to have that match. But Camille's just out here wrestling everyone on the independent scene and proving why the Burke is one of the most respected female wrestling titles at the moment. And Aldous ran from Kenny. I mean, I don't know if you're being cynical right now or not. I mean, the sarcasm's certainly there, but you have to book the match. Does Tony Khan want to book the women's world champion from the NWA to face his secondary women's champion on AEW? Probably not. She's the TBS champion. She's got her own deal right now. And they don't need to plug the NWA in that to be successful. And the NWA, why would they want to go in to work in that environment where more than likely they're just there to job? Okay, now that's a better question, Paladin. That's a better question. Why hasn't TK shown interest in Camille? He liked Thunder and bought her out her contract. Has he shown no interest in Camille? I mean, I'm not Tony Khan. I don't have a pipeline to Tony Khan, so I can't tell you the reasons, yay or nay or whatever. I also don't know what Camille's situation is. Camille, right now, she is the women's world champion. She has no obligation to appear anywhere but the NWA, and she's allowed to work in pretty much any independent wrestling show she wants to. And she's right now the biggest fish in a small pond. What's stopping her from going to AEW? Well, you're right. Did Tony book her? Has Tony wanted to book her? I don't know. I feel like Camille is a very solid competitor. I feel like she's getting better each and every time I see her wrestle. I mean, she's had watch her versus Chelsea Green. That's not a bad matchup. Watch her versus Taya Valkyrie. That's not a bad match. She is really putting in some work. And you got to think about, she really didn't even start wrestling on this level until about 2021. Yes, she had some matches prior to that. She did train with the Dudleys, the Team 3D Academy. But if you look at it, she really didn't start wrestling until the third or fourth season of Power. When they came back from the pandemic, she had 2 matches before the pandemic. So with that being said, maybe Camille is locked up under an NWA contract. Maybe it's redundant to have two women on your roster who are powerful and strong, beautiful. I don't know. I can't tell you why. I would tell you this, that if I was a wrestling promoter and Camille was available for me to use, I would jump at the chance. Dave Scooby said Tom and Camille are heading to the UK in December with some title matches set up. Chris says, where in the UK is that match taking place? I saw this. I think it was UPW. I talked about this on my last the Alliance Guys podcast. Now, of course, last week was Thanksgiving, so we didn't do a regular episode of the Alliance Guys podcast, and I literally just spent about 30 minutes talking about Camille's what Camille's done as Women's World Champion and where she was going next. And I believe she's heading to UPW, where I'm not exactly sure where she's defending the title at, what city it is, but yeah, I wish I had more information in front of me to tell you, Chris, but it's coming up soon. Anyways, we have just a little bit of time left, so I am going to I want to see what James said. Camille is smart enough to know AWE and WWE will bury her, and she'll be doing nightly house shows. I don't know if that's the case. I just think as of right now, she's got a good thing in the NWA, and until someone's going to pay her the real big bucks to leave, I mean, why would you go? No problem, Chris. I know it's the UPW. I know that because UPW, there used to be a UPW in California called Ultimate Pro Wrestling, and it was like a developmental for the WWE at the time, so the name stuck with me. But let's talk about the show real quick. I do have some photos of the event that's coming up tonight on this week's episode of POWERRR. We get the return of Samantha Starr with her mom baby doll to take on KiLynn King. Now, I saw this match live. I can tell you who wins. But I'm not going to spoil it for you. I found myself really liking Samantha Starr. And although she came out as the heel, some of the fans locally were getting behind her. I don't know if this was a one-off. I don't know if we'll see her again in the NWA. But this was her second match with the National Wrestling Alliance. And I'm not going to tell you that she was a blue chip prospect by any stretch of the imagination. But I think a little bit more seasoning. And maybe she could be something to watch out for in the NWA. Of course, I'm very excited about this tag team. Very, very excited about Blunt Force Trauma with Aron Stevens. These two dudes, they remind me of a modern day Doom. If you guys remember Doom, I believe it's Carnage and Damage. Don't ask me which one is which. I was very impressed with their debut. You guys will be too, I'm pretty sure of. A lot of fun, just two dudes going out there beating the crap out of people. Immediately, my thoughts were, how much longer can the Fixers hold on to those U.S. tag titles when you've got tag teams like the Pope and JTG and Blunt Force Trauma? And, we have some existing tag teams in the NWA, but when you have an influx of talent, it really kind of puts everyone on notice. Hawkari has been trying to get those world tag team titles, but now maybe a new challenge will step up. Yeah, with JTG teaming with the Pope on 2 nights of wrestling, I don't know how much longer him and Dirty Dango are a tag team. The Pope and JTG look really good, I will say that. But going back to this tag team, I do believe they take on a Wildcat tag team. You'll enjoy this match. If you don't enjoy this match, I'll give you a $1 back. Let's see. Real quick, going to some more of your comments. You guys saw the battery countdown, huh? That's funny. Let's see. They move away. You like my shirt? Yeah, my kids got this for me for my birthday. My birthday was yesterday. Your boy Jay now is 44, and I'm feeling every bit of it. Yeah, it looks like they're moving away from the question mark gimmick. Now, there is still a question mark number 2 or 3. I like to call him the question mock because he's not a question mark and he's not a question Mac. And I don't know who these two guys are, but yeah, I'm excited about them. Let's see. Yeah, Chris Flackett says Doom used to wear similar black masks when they started tagging together. You know, if they really wanted to go with that Doom effect, this would have been the tag team for, you know, because back in the day, Doom was managed initially by a woman, and I could totally see this tag team being managed by uh, Taryn Terrell. Unfortunately, she's retired from pro wrestling, so she's done. But I would have liked to see someone different. Now, Aron Stevens as a manager is fine. I just think he's more better used in the ring. But you know, until then, until he decides to step back in the ring, he'll be a fun manager. And managing these two, I think it was going to be a lot of fun. John Farmer says London, which I believe that's the area. That's the area that Camille will be defending the Women's World Championship for UPW. Matt says, how long is the NWA going to act like people don't know who Blunt Force is, especially when, hey, we don't do spoilers here. I don't know who these guys are. They're wearing black masks. They're totally different than anything else I've ever seen before. But, you know, Matt, I will say this. They're a lot of fun tag team. They are very much an homage to Doom. I don't know if that was done intentionally or not, but you totally will get that vibe when you see them wrestle. I'm excited about it. Chris says former Creative Pro Tag Team Champions VBU faces a tough task as they take on the team of Alex Riley and NWA World's Heavyweight Champion Planet Tyrus. I don't know what that's about, Chris. Message me later or explain yourself. Paladin says, happy birthday, my dude. I'll be 40 in February. Any advice? Stretch. Make sure you do your stretches. And if you haven't been stretching, start stretching because everything gets tight. That's a great name, Scoob. The God Squad. Holy Jesus. That was unintentional too. The God Squad. I love it. Oh, damn. That's awesome, Scooby. That's what I'm calling them now, the God Squad. That's awesome. Doom was Butch Reed and Ron Simmons. You're correct, Willie. They were a great tag team. You know, I was a Steiner Brothers fan, and when the Doom came in and mopped the floor with the Steiners, I was pissed. But looking back, I mean, Ron Simmons would go on to become a world's heavyweight champion. Butch Reed, before joining the tag team, was a very regional NWA title holder in a lot of different territories. Hacksaw Butch Reed, if you will, the Natural when he was in the WWE. I mean, I remember him having that match with Hogan where he made Hogan look bad. I'm not going to acknowledge these alleged allegations of who are behind the masks, Matt and Jeremy. I'm just going to ignore it. Paladin says my knees are already popping like crinkling paper. Yeah, man, stretching. You know, my pal Jaden told me about beet powder, and I guess it's supposed to be really good for your joints and having your blood carry more oxygen. I don't know, but I'm on day 4 of taking them, and I don't feel any different, but I've only been taking them for 4 days. And Gold says the question Marche. God damn it. That's so clever, though. I don't want to share this stuff, Tim, but you're being so damn clever. And of course, let's see. Yeah, beet powder. I'm taking a multivitamin beet powder, just for my, like I walk a lot now. I've been trying to walk to kind of help me stress relieve but also kind of like help with my weight loss because I'm a little heavier than I would like to be. And he said that the beet powder is good for like getting the oxygen in your body and recovery. So I don't, I'm not trying to tell you a whole lot, but yeah, I think I want it to be, you know what I mean? I want it to help, and I'll let you know in a couple of weeks if it does or not. Paladin says your chat should be on creative. Man, look, they should be. They should be. Like, look, I'm telling you guys, if the NWA was smart, they would just have 3 or 4 people in here in this chat, and you guys are telling them exactly what you like and what you don't like, and they could do what they want with that information, but they would at least know what's working for a core audience. I mean, if you guys are watching this show, you're pretty much invested in the NWA. because if you don't watch the NWA, you're probably not jumping into this chat. Terry, that's funny, man. Gags needs to take off his mask and leave the Addams family. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Gags gimmick. I like the wrestler underneath the mask. I think if they put a different mask on him, he would be just as entertaining, just as fun, and we could get rid of all the stupid stuff associated with Gags. But I'm not the booker, man. Mass is looking at grinding up eggshells as well. Excellent collagen supplement. Boil eggshells first, bake in oven, then grind them down. All right. I mean, yeah, I know I got to do something. I'm not stuck because I haven't really started, but I'm not happy with where I'm at right now in my fitness, and I'm one of those people that have fluctuated my entire life. So, isn't that? Aren't you Matt? Have I been calling you Matt this whole time and you're not Matt? I feel very bad. All right, well, Mike. Oh, Jesus. I'm sorry, Mike. I've been calling you Matt this entire time. My bad, Mike. I'm gonna know that now. Paladin, I did not see Steamboat's last match, and I did see that Aldis was involved, and it just goes to show you a lot of people who are like, well, we don't need Aldis. That Aldis still has a ton of value, and I never wanted to say a bad thing about Aldis's value because I think he's still going to land on his feet, guys. He's going to go and do things, and he's still going to carry a wrestling promotion on his back if he chooses to, or he's going to get extended to the WWE, or I don't see him in AEW. But I still see a ton of upside for Nick Aldis. But it just was time in the NWA was done. He really had nothing more to prove. I really wish they would have stuck with him and Doug Williams as the British Invasion, because I think a tag team with Nick Aldis, keeping him out of the spotlight but still relevant, would have been very interesting. I really feel like they botched that whole thing. And the minute they put him into the match with Matt Cardona for Crockett Cup 2022, I think really just it showed you how the whole 20-year plan isn't really a real plan. It's more like an outline. And so far, they're not really staying for it. Yeah, he's only 35. Yeah, and of course, like at 35, I mean, he's in his prime. He's probably got another 10 years, maybe 15 years left before he would hang him up or have to hang him up. He could definitely bring a lot to the table. A Paladin says, I think Impact would be a great fit for him. Yeah, I mean, a return to Impact wouldn't be bad for him. But at this point, he's done everything he needed to in Impact. He's a former tag team champion, former world champion twice. I just don't see the appeal. If the rumor, I've heard rumors that the World of Sport was looking at working with Nick Aldis, and I think that would be a huge coup for them. And if they could bring in someone the talent level of Nick Aldis, I mean, that could certainly restructure the entire British wrestling scene. And who knows what happens from there. I know that he has the ties to that Polish wrestling promotion. I don't remember the name of it, but he's had 2 matches there. And I really feel like he could help situate that region and really kind of help produce some great wrestling. And who knows, maybe a partnership between that Poland promotion and the world of sport, it could really benefit both markets. I don't really know, but I think there's a lot of positive. That's true. That's true. He is no longer Magnus. Paladin says they just got a new TV deal going to be shown in over 170 countries starting today. That's their pay-per-view, isn't it? Danzin, DAZN. I thought that was just for their pay-per-view deal. That awesome if they. I didn't really get into it because I was getting ready for today's show, but hey man, I'm rooting for Impact. You know, people always want to say so many negative things about that promotion, but at this point, Impact has been around longer than WCW. Let that sink in for a minute. Ted Turner bought WCW in 1988 from Jim Crockett Promotions, right? I mean, he bought Jim Crockett Promotions, renamed it WCW in 1988. by 2001, that was no longer a promotion. What, like 11 years, right? Math right? 11 years? Unless he's dubbed Nick Magnus. No, I mean, he's appeared on their programming. Like, he appeared where he and Mickie James wrestled a mixed tag team against Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green. It would be kind of funny. The other match that's on the card that I know you guys are all looking forward to is this gem of a match where the Spectaculars will wrestle the Cardonas, and if the Cardonas win, they get 5 minutes alone with Rolando, and if the Cardonas lose, then Rolando gets a shot at Matt Cardona for his future world title shot. This is just a clusterfuck of stupid. Sorry if I offend you with my language, but I watched it live. It's just as dumb looking at it and reading it there as it was watching it. This is the kind of stuff that I wish the NWA would get away from. I don't know why Billy thinks this is so entertaining. It's not. I just hate it. Didn't they used to do that in high school? The 5 minute challenge with Rolando. Wait a minute. You know what? Strike that. Cancel that. I'm gonna get canceled. Mike says, I don't want to see this. We all know Cardonas won't win. Billy won't let Rolando go sour. I mean, you'll see. You'll see. You'll see. Yeah, but that's it, man. I mean, we did our hour. Power's about to start in a couple of minutes. So I do want to say thanks to everyone for tuning in for this week's pre-party. I haven't done that in a while. Again, we're here each and every week at this time, Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific. You can join our pals who've been in the chat with us all day. Dave, Scooby, Jeremy, Wrestling with the MMA, and Tim, NWA Gold, as they are the other Alliance guys. They have a great show in store for you tomorrow at 6:05 Eastern, 3:05 Pacific. And, of course, the original, the Daddies, the Alliance Guys podcast will be taking place Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. And we'll be talking some more NWA. We'll be talking some more wrestling. So I do hope you guys will check that out. Of course, get your W. If you use my link, which is in the description of this video, you save 10% and I make 10%. So we both win. And if you don't want to buy the W product, that's cool. We have other things like merchandise, like this beautiful coffee mug with my fat hand literally can fit in the handle like so, or hats like these. We also have t-shirts, fanny packs, travel mugs, and who knows, maybe we'll have some bathing suits up there soon, like some bikinis, so you can get your wife to dress in an Alliance gear bathing suit. Mike, I'll message you on I'm telling you, I'm not a skinny guy. I'm a big dude. I mean, I'm not that big, but I'm a big dude. Mike, I'll send you the link after the show closes. I'll have that for you. Or you can check out the description in the video. Merchandise link is right there. But that's going to do it for us, guys. Again, thank you so much for being here. I'll see you guys on Thursday, but those guys will see you on tomorrow. And until next time, I'll see you at the matches. Thanks for checking out the pre-party, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. You should hit that subscribe button and join our community. I also want to remind you that we recap NWA Power every Thursday at 8 p.m. in the live stream. We try to stay social, so find us at the Alliance blog. And until next time, we are the Alliance.